Welcome to the 2018 World Chess Championship, a match between the current world champion, Magnus Carlsen, and his challenger, Fabiano Caruana. Today is the final day. Playoffs since 12 games haven't brought a single decisive game. I'm Anna Rudolph, your host, and our chess expert is once again Judith Polgar, the greatest female player of all time.
Hi. It is so exciting to be here today, especially.
We are live from London at the college where the match has been taking place for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of exciting chess, fighting spirit, but still no result, no decisive result happened in any single game. This is the first World Chess Championship that is so close that it goes down to playoffs without anyone winning a classical game. How do you see that, Judith?
Well, I think we're seeing an exceptional match from many point of view. It's first of all that I think we never saw such a close match from point of view that in rating points there is only 3 rating point difference between the two players, which is practically nothing. It's only one game if Fabiano would have won in the classical game, and he would take not only the lead in the match but also the ranking. He would be number 1 suddenly. So this is something very special, and this is the reason why actually we are seeing also so many draws and so balanced match, that none of the players could make force such a mistake from the other side that they could complete the full point. Of course, there was this famous game 1 where Magnus could have been winning the game, and also Fabiano had in game 6, which was not very much a human opportunity.
1936.
But generally speaking, we are now dealing with a match which will make, I think, the chess world different, because I think there will be and has to be some change of rules, change of something, so it could be more appealing for the media, for the people who are not such a big expert on chess, because we had quite a few interesting moments of the match, if you're looking at it from chess point of view. But I think we are going to get back everything on this specific day, what we didn't got the decisive games in the previous 20 days, right, in the 12 games. So I'm very much expecting today that the tension will be unbearable for the players, and I think actually in the whole building, which is quite big, I think everybody is so excited. And, like, sometimes you may forget to breathe because it will be such a tension, I think. At least that's what I'm expecting. And, of course, as I was a top player for quite a few years, and I played chess, competitive chess, more than 3 decades, I can still, of course, feel completely the nerve-wracking moments for the player, what they might be going through in their mind, that it's not about the chess knowledge 100% about today. Today is about how did you sleep, how do you feel, how the stars are standing, and so many small details, how your intuition works today, what happens in game 1, whether you're winning and that's how it's going to be spoiled to a draw, or already the first game will be decisive. So every little slightest detail does count now, and both players know it, that this night will be a huge difference how they sleep, or they sleep at all, it depending what will be the outcome.
We are very curious to see the players. They will be soon arriving here in the players' box, the soundproof box, where the match has been taking place. A reminder on the format of the playoffs is that, first of all, we have 4 rapid games with a time control of 25 minutes plus 10-second increment with each move. If there is no winner after 4 rapid games, no result, after 2-2, we would move on to blitz mini-matches. Each mini-match consists of 2 games, 1 with white, 1 with the black pieces. If still no result, if there's still no winner in the mini-matches of blitz games, 5 mini-matches we shall see. After that, Armageddon, sudden death, that will be the final game. I don't think we will get there. That's a bit too much. We may have a winner after the 4 rapid games. Magnus Carlsen won the rapid portion in New York against Sergei Karyakin. The first 2 games there in New York were drawn, and he won game 3 and game 4. We shall see what happens here in London.
Well, it's very clear that after game 10, which was extremely interesting, maybe we can call the most interesting game of the match, with a lot of tension there, and every game it was changing the evaluation of us here in the studio, but also when you take a look with Engine, it's very, very, very complicated. And surprisingly, after that, Magnus kind of decided that he really wants to go on for the playoffs, and decided in game 11 that with the white pieces, he's not going to play for anything special. He opened with e4, with being not very ambitious, which was kind of not a big surprise, but a little surprise to me. But I think what made the whole world make a big shock in some way, it was game 12 when he was playing the black pieces, and actually Fabiano played very nervously and made serious mistakes, which gave the upper hand for Magnus in that game. But the mindset of Magnus was so much on focusing just to make a draw, that even though that he had a fantastic position that you cannot even dream of practically, he immediately in the first second when he could offer a draw officially by the rules, it was move 31, he just offered a draw. He was not interested about putting pressure on Fabiano in that game. He just wanted to move on to today's game's playoff because he has all this self-confidence that now this is his time to score.
That was indeed the case the last two games, that his mindset was to just head for a playoff. So many people have been criticizing Magnus Carlsen for this approach, including elite players. I'm not going to read out all the tweets, but I was going to mention Grandmaster Yannick Pelletier's tweets, because he is basically summing up what was happening on social media. He said, shocking, disappointing, Kaisa's punishment. Only Carlsen knows why he offered a draw. We can try and guess his reasons, but let's stop judging and condemning him. He'll answer tomorrow. It's a tweet from yesterday, obviously. If he doesn't convince, he loses the title.
Yeah, I mean, that's very clear that he's being attacked by many of the people for the reason that he offered a draw. But let's analyze it a little bit. Why is that we are criticizing him for this, right? I mean, he's the world champion. He knows what he's doing. He has his strategy. So we can't really blame him completely in principle by the fact that he offered a draw. The reason is why chess players and professionals are really surprised and shocked, because first of all, it's a trademark of Magnus Carlsen that he never offers a draw. This is rule number one, and right, we're looking Magnus Carlsen, not the principal question whether a draw offer is good or not. So the world champion practically never offers a draw. I heard some people discussing also that, well, how did he do that? Because he never does that. Did he do it in Norwegian or in English or how it was? So this is one. And the other thing is, you know, on a high level, that whenever you get a chance, you don't let it go. You take it. And this was something that we consider, that he had such a chance to press Fabiano without too much of a risk, that most of us who were never sitting in Magnus's place, sitting there playing for a title and keeping his title, we would think that we would be moving on and put extra pressure on Fabiano. But as his mindset was completely ready already after game 10, that he wants to make two draws, or at least he's happy with those two draws, he was, I think, not even paying attention. He was not even focusing in the game too much. It was so unexpectedly that he got such an opportunity by Fabiano, that he had such a position with the black pieces that, you know, it's like you want to play it yourself. So I think this is the reason, and really we are going to get an answer today, whether he was right or wrong, but definitely from looking at it from professional aspect, most of us think that it's a very, very, very surprising decision, which he may dream about it, having nightmares if things don't work out on his way today.
We shall see how things turn out, and let's listen to our spectators, what they thought about Game 12.
It was like some kind of like weird thing going on. I was like looking at the screen and someone said a draw, and I'm like, I cannot believe this.
Carlsen had every advantage, time and the position. So yes, it was a surprise.
Yes, because Magnus was winning actually in the position.
I didn't know what happened. When they shook hands, I was completely confused.
I could not believe when it was drawn. I absolutely could not believe. I was a little bit relieved, though, because I was very worried for Caruana.
Oh, absolutely. I was really surprised because it looked like Caruana was under a lot of pressure.
Not very surprised. It seemed like a pretty even match. He has been a champion. I mean, the classical world champion. He's been a rapid champion. He's been a blitz champion. So he knows his area, what he's walking into.
Total surprise, no? Yes, porque I think today is finished.
That we got a draw after 30 moves, or like 31, all of a sudden, it was really unexpected.
The blitz is a lottery. It's for lottery, I think. It's possible Fabiano or possible Carlsen. I don't know.
A 70% chance Carlsen does it, 30% Caruana.
I think it's 50-50.
I think Magnus will win.
I think Caruana stands a chance in the Rapid and Blitz. Hopefully just Rapid.
Of course he has a chance.
I think Magnus has the edge.
Caruana has a chance, but I think Carlsen has better chances, I think, more likely.
I wish you both the best. It's been a great match. So far, I've loved everything. I can't wait to see how it goes in Rapid and Blitz.
Go on, Magnus. Just keep calm, you'll be fine. It'll be easy. Yeah.
Magnus, I want you to win.
Go for it.
Fabiano, we have cardboard cutouts of you in St. Louis, Missouri.
Good luck, Magnus, and all the best.
Good luck, and hope you guys have a good time.
You see, for the lottery, it's the lottery, the blitz. I think good luck for the Fabiano and Carlsen.
Okay, guys, if you're a real man, play more draws.
As many of our spectators said, it's a lottery. So not even Magnus Carlsen, who has been World Rapid and World Blitz champion, can be sure that he's going to win today and defend his title.
Well, of course, he cannot be sure that he's going to be winning, but I'm pretty sure that he's extremely optimistic, as he was world champion twice, I think, in Rapid. And it is very clear that it's for him, it's kind of getting a favorite time control when it's getting shorter time control, especially when it gets to Blitz. But he knows it exactly that it's not going to be a piece of cake for him. I mean, he has to understand, he knows it exactly. He's not going to be underestimating Fabiano because he respects Fabiano. He knows it. He experienced it that in classical games, Fabiano was better prepared in openings. And I think it is going to be a very big issue whether what's going to be in the opening phase of the games, and especially what is going to be game one. Because after all, Magnus is playing with the white pieces, and if he's not going to get anything out of the opening, it would be an easy draw, and then the second one as well, then it may cause a lot of instability for Magnus as well, because if there is 1-1 in the first two games, then it's getting to a lottery kind of thing, right? And of course, psychology will take a main role or very big role in today's match, because players are having 4 games, 10 minutes break only between the games, so they have to adjust to the situation very, very, very fast.
Before we focus our attention on the playoffs and the Rapid games, let's just recap what happened in the last classical game of the match.
Exactly, 7 hours.
Oh,
yes.
And it's a handshake.
Yeah.
Draw is the official result of the first game between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana.
There was huge interest here today as the players sat down for this tense encounter.
Oh, we have a handshake.
Wow.
Players repeated the Sicilian Sveshnikov from previous games in the match.
And why Judith spotted immediately that this is a draw and a handshake.
And an unbalanced position arose on the board.
They've agreed to draw.
Wow. Oh.
Players put their kings on opposite sides, making attacks more likely.
Now, this has been a very exciting draw.
We were guaranteed a full-blooded fight.
Wow. Team Magnus can breathe again.
Play turned in favour of the world champion as Caruana's attacking prospects closed on the king side and Carlsen's opened up on the queen side.
Call the arbiter. Show it.
Yeah, he's showing it on the board indeed, and a handshake.
Then, to everyone's surprise, Carlsen offered a draw, which Caruana accepted.
I mean,
and a handshake. The players have agreed to a draw.
The world champion was happy to go into the rapid play tiebreaks, where he has a good track record.
Draw!
Oh my God!
Great.
How is that possible?
While the challenger was relieved to have survived from a poor position.
Okay, there we go.
Magnus had a really nice position in the game today, but clearly his whole attitude was just about playing for a draw.
Well, actually, I was wrong with my prediction.
Magnus, I would say, is the favourite, but I think Fabiano, has been playing so well
Should be the move or something else.
that I wouldn't write him off at all. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens.
What?
Draw-offer? Draw-offer.
No, he can't. Can
Draw-offer. Rook A8
Really?
draw-offer. Well, there is no
What?
other result here. I mean, nobody can resign here.
Yes, we were under shock, especially me, who I even thought that they haven't reached move 30, or it hasn't occurred to me that they can offer a draw at all, as they barely do.
But actually, just now I recognized and noticed by seeing the video when Fabiano accepted the draw, he had some googles kind of
Really?
in
He
his
was
mouth.
giggling?
Yeah, giggling somehow, because I think he couldn't believe it, that he doesn't have to
He
suffer
got
there
away
for
with
another
it.
3 hours. And
I
actually,
didn't
it was
see
really
the smile.
dangerous.
Another tweet about this game, of course, was from the one and only Garry Kasparov. He said after this game, in light of the shocking draw offer from Magnus in a superior position with more time, I reconsider my evaluation of him being the favorite in rapids. Tie breaks require tremendous nerves, and he seems to be losing his.
Yeah, we were just discussing, right, that quite a few professional has outraged or very, very shocked and surprised on the draw offer. It was so unexpected to everybody, especially, I think, because just a few moves before, Magnus even had a better position than this one. I mean, even this is, black has the upper hand, but it's not so easy. But just few moves before his draw offer, he really had so many different options and tactics, and it was only black who could really develop a winning chance.
Today is the final day, and the players have arrived for the 4 rapid games that will take place, and it will decide whether we see a new or old world chess champion, if Magnus Carlsen can defend his title, or will Fabiano Caruana become the first American world champion since 1975, since Bobby Fischer.
72.
I think he was world champion since from 1972
yeah, but he got the
1975,
title, yeah.
and then Karpov got the
that's
title
true.
in 75.
Interesting that the players, of course, extremely tense with a lot of photographers inside, and I'm pretty sure that the jackets will be taken off very shortly, especially when they're into the middle game, when on the clock we'll see quite a few.
Magnus has the white pieces, as you can see, and the first move will be played by the daughter of renowned physicist Stephen Hawking, Lucy Hawking. What do you think will be the first move of Magnus in game 1?
Maybe C4?
C4. Could be.
But I have no idea what he cooked
Or
out
D4.
in
I
the
don't
last
predict
days.
E4.
It would be surprising because I think he would want to score immediately in game 1. So
For sure, who's the boss?
yeah, and I mean this is his maybe one of the biggest chances, game 1, when just the warming up part, that if he can get the surprise for Fabiano, which is going to be extremely difficult, seeing Fabiano's preparation, but. In rapid, you can't really afford spending 5-10 minutes on one single move, right? Because for the whole game, the players have 25 minutes each, and only 10 seconds they receive after every move.
The first move of Magnus Carlsen for game 1 of the rapid playoffs is almost D3 or C3. I can't see exactly which pawn it is, but it went 1 square for the first move. Yes, it is indeed C4, the English opening.
I'm surprised that I guessed it right.
Well done, Judith. C4,
E5.
E5, nice C3.
I think because of this C3, I have a technical problem on my screen. And no, now I have C4, E5, knight C3. So let's see how it's happening very fast.
It is not the same variation that they have played twice here when it was the English Opening in classical games.
Yeah.
We see a completely different variation.
Move 3, G3 was played. That's the deviation. Bishop B4, E4. Well, already black is thinking, as just to show immediately on bishop c3, probably d takes e3, and black cannot take on e4 because queen d5 will appear on the board, and immediately a double attack. So white would be winning back the pawn. And I think e4 is an extremely surprising way of playing this game.
And that explains why Fabiano is thinking.
Yeah, it is a very good way of approaching a rapid game, that you want to make a surprise to your opponent, and even if it's a kind of a dubious move. E4 is played very few occasions. I'm pretty sure that E4 was prepared for the rapid part of the match. It is very clear. So black after E4, there are only very few games on this. I mean, less than 20 games. And black played castle, knight e2. Knight e2, black played c6. The idea of c6, of course, to play d5, but actually we can say that it's a reversed color Rossolimo.
Oh, as we haven't seen enough Rossolimo in this match.
Exactly. So this is kind of funny because black probably can play d5 and sacrifice the pawn, possibly, and get some counter chances here.
Fabiano is spending quite some time in the opening. It is definitely the e4 move that has surprised him.
Absolutely, that now he has to decide whether he plays the Rossolimo with a one tempo down, which is very tricky, especially if he did not prepare or he's not prepared with variations on this. So he has to decide whether he goes to d5, and somehow I was playing with the white pieces that I was sacrificing this pawn, but I'm not sure that with the pawn down you can afford that, because white would be taking on d5, probably black tries to play bishop f5, his plan is to go bishop d3, and if, let's say, white goes d3, black can go knight d7 and later also knight b6. But you have to know what you're doing, in other hand. So this is a first decision to be made by Fabiano, whether he's going to d5 with the tempo down in the Rossolimo, or he's going to play, let's say, d6, and then later on develop his bishop. In other hand, if he just wants to develop with d6, then it might be just white will be castling and later on to play d4, and white can get a fantastic, pleasant position. Because the b4 bishop is, what is it doing there, right? So, in a way, I think it was a very smart way of preparation by Magnus. And already he's up to 25 minutes and 50 seconds.
Minutes. He started with 25.
Yeah, and he has 3 minutes of advantage already. But that's not the most... the biggest problem what black has right now, but it's not a nice start that at move 6 already your opponent has more than 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes advantage in a rapid game.
Certainly it's not a pleasant start. Just to recap also the situation, we have talked about their classical ratings for 3 weeks. It's the world number 1 and the world number 2 facing each other, 3 rating points difference. That's their classical rating. In rapid chess, we have different ratings, and Magnus Carlsen is world number 1 in all 3 time controls, in classical, rapid, and blitz. Magnus Carlsen's rapid rating is 2880, and Fabiano Caruana is world number 8 with the rating of 2789. That is 101 rating points below Magnus Carlsen. I think that's also one factor why everybody considers Magnus the heavy favorite, and the other is that Fabiano hasn't had any really good tournament in rapid chess, while Magnus has won World Rapid Championships, also the Grand Chess Tour. He has done well in rapid, unlike Fabiano.
Well, we have a move, a6.
Oh.
And yeah, probably black wants to play b5 in the next move.
So not the Rossolimo type with d5, but instead b5, expanding on the queen side.
Yeah, it looks kind of a funny shape of pawns, right? a6 and a6, b7, c6, d7, but it's not going to be last long, this structure. Well, actually, I was also checking the rating list, and which caught my eyes is that Dominguez is number 3 in Rapid, and actually he's on the team of Fabiano. So probably they made some preparation and training games on Rapid games, most likely. In the meantime, we have moves on the board. White castled and black played b5. Of course, is the logical continuation of a6. So now the question is, most likely white is not going to take on b5 because black would be taking with the a pawn. And then immediately this is the way when you don't make a single move with your piece and your rook can be very active on the a line. So what I'm expecting is either d3, looks like a very logical move. b3 is another option to be playing. Also, actually, well, a3 probably would be not possible or not good because black would be taking and just grabbing the pawn, and when white would like to gain back the pawn, then black can defend it with d5. Even though this might be an interesting game also, that white is taking back a pawn, black can develop. Actually, it is a kind of a very strange position because white has not a very good development, and also the d3 square can be weak, but it would be a lot of chaos. So a3 possibly also an option to be playing. I don't know whether d4 is possible, though. d4 is the most straightforward and challenging move for black, I believe. And we're seeing indeed. d4. Yeah, a lot of energy by Magnus. It seems he has all 3 pawns in the central squares, covering the central squares and pawn. Immediately black has to decide whether is he going to grab or just defending it with d6, the e5 pawn, or let's see what happens if black takes on d4, which would give up the center. And at this point, I think queen d4 can be also strong, and also knight d4 should be considered, because now already, if let's say black is taking a pawn, white could be going e5, and white has a great initiative. Black has to go back to e8, which after white would go knight e4, and it's such a beautiful position, huge initiative, great compensation by white. I mean, look at this. Almost all black pieces still on the back rank, and while white is having his knights in the center, he has this powerful fianchetto bishop. The other bishop goes to g5, so this would be very risky for black. And I see Fabiano just play d6, going the solid way, and which is absolutely understandable that you don't want to allow initiative for Magnus.
I'm slightly surprised by the posture of Magnus. We normally see him in his very confident poses, but now covering his face. This is not the typical Magnus thinking pose.
Well, of course, I mean, it's really, as I told you before, the jacket is off already.
Yes,
so
not practical for Rapid and Blitz.
Yeah, I mean, it is very clear that he knows it, that this is the opening phase of the game. These are the most important moves for the moment, that where he can pose real trouble for Fabiano. If Fabiano will stabilize his position, developing his pieces, bishop to b7, knight to d7, he puts his queen to e7, let's say, I mean, then it will be a complicated game, which still might be the case that will be the outcome later on towards to the middle game. But for now, there are questions. For example, should white go a3? And then black has to question himself whether does he want to take on c3 and grab the pawn. Can he do that at all? Because maybe for the moment it is possible. So this is a question, because if black goes bishop a5, then white could be playing b4. Black has to go all the way back to c7. And well, probably here black is fine, because this would be too much of pawn moves with the white pieces. And the b4 bishop not necessarily stands better on b4 than on c7.
The a6 b5 idea of Fabiano has at least surprised Magnus in a sense that it's not his preparation anymore either. We are approaching a time situation where both players have approximately the same time, and of course that's much better for the challenger, that finally he's not behind on the clock.
Yeah, this is a very important information for him, that he surprised back Magnus, right, after this e4 system played. And yeah, I mean, to take on e5, it would be, I don't know, it wouldn't seem to be A3. So aggressive. So a3 was played. Now Fabiano has to decide whether to take on c3, play bishop a5, or possibly to take e takes d4, the intermediate move, with the idea if white is taking the bishop. But in the meantime, we have bishop c3 on the board, knight c3, and now most likely the pawn will be taken. And b takes c4. So we are having a very sharp situation now. Magnus sacrificed the pawn already. We are only at move 10. In other hand, white has the pair of bishops. Also, the development of white is better. And for the moment, queen e2 or queen a4 is not possible to attack the pawn on c4, because e takes d4 would be possible for black. So this is not possible. On the other hand, if white is taking d takes e5, and white would be attacking the c4 pawn by playing queen e2, which actually happening in the game, then black can go bishop e6, and for quite a long time, probably black will be able to hold on his extra pawn. So we have d takes e5, d takes e5. I would think that probably maybe Magnus will just ignore the exchange of queens and possibly will develop with his bishop to e3 or maybe to g5. I would think that bishop e3 could be strong for a later possibility of knight a4.
Knight
but
a4
he said
immediately. He doesn't mind the trade of queens. So what white has for the sacrificed pawn is the pair of bishops and the initiative 2. With the move, with the trade on e5, he actually managed to isolate black's pawn. So you see that there are double c pawns, c4 and c6. Those are weak and isolated pawns.
Well, the importance of playing knight a4 immediately is that if black would go knight d7 to control these two squares of b6 and c5, then white is already able to play queen c2 attacking the c4, and black is not able to protect his pawn by playing bishop e6. While if black is going bishop e6 right now, then knight c5 could be unpleasant, or black definitely has to consider this option, whether it's a problem or no, that's another story. But the black bishop will be captured. And also the white knight is more active on c5. So after knight a4, for example, if black would go queen a5 and queen c2, bishop e6, bishop e3, knight d7, this would be completely fine for black. So we have to see that if black is in time with his development, everything is fine. In other hand, after queen a5, white would be going bishop e3 again immediately, trying to control and give some unpleasant moments for black with knight b6 or bishop b6. And already after knight d7, white would be going queen c2, and the c4 pawn would fall off there after black has a worse position, definitely. So this is the challenge what black is facing right now, how to make sure that the c4 pawn can be protected. For example, bishop e6, of course, has to be considered, because after knight c5, for example, what happens if black goes queen e7? If, let's say, knight e6, queen e6, bishop e3. Because if not bishop e3, but let's say white would be going somewhere else, something else, black can consider to try to play c5, knight c6, and go all the way to d4.
Indeed, this is the variation we are going to see. Bishop e6 has been played by Fabiano.
So let's see what he's going to be up to after knight c5. The other question is whether white wants to take on d8 or not. Usually it's the case that none of the players would like to give up the tension, because after queen d8, rook d8, suddenly black is who is taking over the d file, which actually is a very important file in this structure. Also for black it would be important to have his rook to a7, b7, or later on to b8, but definitely to put it on the b file, to put pressure on the b2 pawn. So for black it is important to get hold on the c4 pawn. Well, the big question is knight c5, of course. That's the huge question, whether knight c5 is giving black a problem or no. And after queen e7, what we just looked, knight e6 is one of the options, but also bishop e3. But after bishop e3, I think black is just in time to play knight g4, and after the white bishop cannot move away because he has to be protecting the c5 knight. And if knight e6, black would be playing the intermediate move knight e3, takes queen e6, and black is just having a great game, I think, because first of all, for quite a few moves, he's going to be getting hold on the c4 pawn, but also for white, this is absolutely not on his advantage to have these double pawns on the e file, and also the fianchetto bishop is practically eating his
Queen
pawn.
takes d8 has been chosen by Magnus, and the next move can be knight c5 if he wants to follow this variation.
Let's see if it's knight c5 going to be on the board.
Or he can also develop his bishop, the c1 bishop.
Yeah, now bishop e3, bishop g5 is also possible, but on the other hand, on bishop e3, black goes knight bd7, and now black is doing quite fine, because it is extremely difficult to capture, to attack the c4. I mean, rook c1 is possible with the idea of bishop f1 and try to capture the pawn, but for the moment it's still not threatening exactly, because the e4 pawn has to be protected. And here probably black would be playing something like rook b8. Also knight g4 is possible. It's always a possibility for black, and white not necessarily has a good square for his bishop. Because, for example, if white goes bishop b2, then, well, even I can consider knight c5.
Bishop e3.
But let's see what we have. Bishop e3 we have on the board. So now, actually, the threat is if, let's say, just black would make a random move h6, then white would be going knight b6, rook a7, and he would be able to jump to c4 to take back the pawn, because the rook on a7 is hanging. So this black obviously cannot do, but knight d7 was played, which is actually, there was no need to think.